Hey, today's April 1st, and I took two trades on Baba and Microsoft, so I just want to review them quickly. So let's start off with Baba. Let me go to a higher time frame. So Baba has been pretty choppy for the last 2 weeks. We have been forming this head and shoulders pattern right here, and we have been we've been trading near the lows, so I have a little bit of a bearish bias on it, but obviously I'm just playing the levels and playing the zones. Yeah, 1 second. So if we go into an intraday time frame, a 5 minute time frame, the first thing I notice about Baba is that it has relative weakness right at market open. Baba usually follows NQ, and you can see that for the first 10 minutes of NQ, we had a nice rally to the upside. ES was a little bit more choppy, but it still moved to the upside. While Baba, on the other hand, had two red candles and two upper wicks, um, already indicating selling pressure and some sort of weakness. But I'm not willing to just short in this market just like that. I want to see some confirmation from the from NQ and ES. ES didn't have any supply zones, but as I said, Baba usually follows NQ, and the first the first sign I saw is at 950. And if you're watching price action in real time, you could see that as soon as we pushed above high day, we formed this massive upper wick. And I only had data up to this point on NQ, and I noticed that we had this massive upper wick. So I'm looking at Baba, and Baba's breaking the 230 key level. It's rejecting supply, rejecting 3 hour supply here. It's breaking lower day, showing relative weakness, and it has nice volume. You can see this volume compared to volume on previous days is a lot more apparent. So because of those confirmations, I entered right below lower day here. I entered four contracts at I think like 49 cents, and I immediately took off two because I'm scalping um, at the close of this candle because we had got a nice move, and I moved my stop loss to break even. After that, we formed this basing candle, and if you move over to NQ, not that red candle, but uh, I thought that after this after this upper wick, we would start to move down, but again, we were just choppy, and that's been the theme lately. So I'm willing to sell the remaining of my contracts at break even, but the reason I stay in, especially for this drop, is because I noticed that the volume of this basing candle, let me highlight it. This basing candle right here, and this volume right here. So usually the drop candles are supposed to have more volume than the basing candles, but you can clearly see that this basing candle didn't even move in a $1 range, while this drop candle moved in over a $1 range. From It moved in like $1.50, but you can see that this basing candle had more volume than the candle before. So that's automatically telling me that okay, sellers are definitely in control of the stock. There's increasing volume below low a day. We're rejecting supply, showing relative weakness, breaking the 230 key level. And another main thing is that we have this gap to fill, and we don't have demand till 90 minute, and we don't have a key level till 225. So Baba definitely has room to run lower. At this point, NQ has this nice move to the downside, and Baba correlates too. The premiums were really spiked at this point. I think my contracts were a little over 100%, so that's where I took the remaining two of my positions off. Yeah, in hindsight, I should have held all the way down to my final target, but just because this market has been so hard to day trade, I've mainly been focusing on scalping. And another key thing to keep in mind is that NQ started to move higher and base in supply, and we didn't have supply all the way up to 3 hour. So I've seen it a lot of times where we have a nice move down, but as soon as NQ starts to move higher, the equities correlate and move higher. Obviously, it wasn't the case this time, but I didn't want to take my chances. So yeah, regardless, it was a good trade. It had a lot of good confirmations, and I was able to capitalize on part of this move down. My next trade was on Microsoft. I don't think I looked at the daily. Okay, I'll quickly go over the daily, but uh, Microsoft and Facebook are some tech equities which have been showing relative strength lately compared to some other tech equities like Apple and AMD. And what I noticed was Microsoft was gapping in supply near this prior resistance area from around 239 to like 240, 241. We've come up on the daily and like rejected. Um, so I was thinking that okay, I have a little bit of a bullish bias. If we can clear this area of resistance, we can definitely move higher from 4 hour or even 45-minute supply here, which I haven't marked down, but this is 45 minute. So you go down to an intraday time frame. The main thing which catches my eye is that Microsoft had it had two supply zones in the morning, daily and 90-minute, and Microsoft just ripped through both supply zones. So I'm thinking that okay, there's sell orders placed here, but buyers are willing to pay a higher price and move the stock higher. And another thing to keep in mind is Microsoft moved over $3 in 25 minutes, which is not really normal for a stock like Microsoft or like Facebook. And you can see that ES was choppy in the morning, but Microsoft had a straight move up. You can see that NQ had its first red candle at 9:40, while Microsoft didn't have its first red candle till 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, NQ had this decent red candle, which cleared some of this consolidation here, but if you can see, Microsoft couldn't even take out the previous candle low, while NQ could clear this area of consolidation. So no matter the pullback, buyers are really willing to push the price higher, and at this point we're basing in supply after this candle. So I'm thinking to myself that okay, buyers are clearly willing to pay the higher price despite there being sell orders placed in this sell imbalance. So at this point, I'm looking for some sort of long opportunity as we're basing in supply for NQ. ES is approaching 4K. So I quickly go to a 15-minute time frame. Let me go to. And the first thing I noticed is we started to form this R, B, and R pattern, rally-based rally. This rally candle was amazing. It moved over $2 with no upper wick, as Dylan talks about in his videos. No upper wick on a rally candle is extremely good. And this basing candle had a nice lower wick as well, letting me know that buyers are clearly present in the stock. So I was speculating that this rally candle would have some nice follow through. In hindsight, it didn't, but I mean, given this information right here, oh, sorry, let me. Given this information here, we looked prime to the upside, especially because we're basing in supply, and we don't have supply all the way until 243.3. So I kind of jumped the gun early. I can show you my exact entry on a 5-minute time frame. My entry was right at 10:15 when we formed this 5-minute RB and R pattern. And as soon as this candle closed green, I took one off. And the main reason I took one off here and I didn't hold for my target of 242.5 is because look at the volume at 10:15. I can highlight it for you as well. So this volume at 10:15, it's concerning because we just broke high a day on a stock which is relatively strong. Despite breaking a high day on a stock which is relatively strong, we have very, very little volume compared to what we should have on a high day break. uh, on a high day break, we want volume somewhere here, like significantly greater than the volume in this area, in this consolidation area. But in this case, we didn't. We broke high day on low volume. So to me, that's already concerning. That's telling me that buyers maybe at the moment aren't willing to push it higher, or we might chop around, which is what we did later on. So I took one contract off there, and on this basing candle right here, again, it was a decrease in volume as well. Unlike Baba, in the first trade I took, the basing candle had nice volume, but I mean we're holding above high day, which was 241.5 on decreasing volume, which is definitely not a good sign. We want to see some sort of increasing volume for a move higher. So as soon as this candle closed red, I took off my final contract at the top of this 1025 candle. It was still like a 30-40 cent move on contracts. It wasn't anything like significant, but uh, I mean, it still played out nicely, even though I didn't get the follow through I expected. And I mean, that's been a common theme of this market lately. We haven't been getting a lot of follow through, so you just have to trust your setups. And when you notice signs like decreasing volume, upper wicks, lower wicks, in the direction you don't want it to be, then you should consider adjusting your stop loss or taking profits quicker. But yeah, those were the two trades I took today. I wanted to share this video because there were some nice volume lessons and some nice price action lessons that I think everybody in the group can learn from. So yeah, I'll be back to trade again on Monday.